When I'm placing my rods, I want to make sure that they're right at the lash line. I don't want to leave any space in between the lashes. That way the curl does start from the beginning of the base of the lash rather than having space in between. If I have a space in between, when I start to wrap my lashes, they won't wrap all the way to the end. There'll be a space in between, so that means it doesn't start curling from the base. It leaves a little space out and then it starts to curl about a quarter of the way up. So I want the lashes, or sorry, the rod to be right to the base of the natural lash, not on top of the lashes, but right to that base. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna go ahead and apply glue to the entire back of my rod. When I'm applying, I do apply all the way, and I flip my little brush around there. I make sure I get those corners really well. That way when I place it, it's not moving around and it doesn't make it harder for me to wrap. Another thing, when I'm placing, I slightly just place a little pressure here so it kind of lifts that lash line up. I want to make sure that there's no lashes behind my rod as I'm placing. Once I have it in place and it's right to that base, as you can see, I'm just going to press down just slightly, not too hard. Just enough pressure to get it to stay on the skin there, so on the eyelid. Okay, I'm gonna brush one more time. So I'm gonna use a mini stick on this eye, and then I'll show you how to wrap with a Y brush on the other side. With glue, one thing I do notice a lot is that we'll take the glue and apply to the entire rod. That's not what we should be doing. Just because the glue does dry a little bit faster, we want to make sure that the glue isn't drying faster than we can work. We can always go back and apply more glue. So what I like to do, I just like to apply maybe to a quarter of the rod, or maybe even halfway, and then start to wrap. When I'm wrapping my lashes, I want them to be straight and wrapped all the way to the end of my rod. If I'm coming up too fast, see how they just pop up? So I go and wrap them again, and as I'm coming up slowly, and I hold those ends just for a few seconds, and then I'll move on. And then I do have to go back over them again so that they stay on my rod, and that way when I apply my step 1 and 2, it curls the lashes the way it needs to. So right now I have my first section wrapped here. You can see that there's a few lashes that are a little wonky there, going a different direction. So I'm going to take my mini stick and start to straighten those out. And if there's any that are too close, I can separate them. And if they pop off my rod, that's fine. I can always take a new mini stick and apply glue to it. And come back and get those lashes to wrap. And again, I'm just coming up slowly and holding those ends so that they stay on my rod. You want the lashes to be wrapped tightly. You don't want any loose lashes, so kind of some, like, I guess you can say, sagging down a little bit. You want them to be tight, pressed and straightened onto the rod. Okay, so I have that section wrapped. Now I can take and apply more glue. So on that one, I did about half of the rod. So it just depends on what type of lashes your client has, because if they have the super thick, coarse lashes, you're really going to want to work just in like quarter sections, because they're really thick. You have to work with them just a little bit longer, hold them down just a little bit longer so that they stay on your rod. And you don't want to use too much glue, because then using too much glue might affect the step 1 and 2 being able to penetrate through the lash. Okay, so we got these wrapped. I'm gonna make sure none are loose or going a different direction they shouldn't be going in.